welcome back to Novel Idea. I am going to be going over just kind of the last few books that I read in August today. I've been gone out of town for about a week, and the internet where I was not good for uploading. I could stream a video, I could watch a video, but I couldn't upload my videos, and so I'm going to be playing a little bit of catch up. So don't be surprised if you see video after video after video coming. But today I'm going to be talking to you about just those last few books in August and letting you know what I thought about them. Okay, so the first book that I wanted to tell you about is Jade City. This is by Fonda, and it is the first book in the Greenbone saga. And this is a fantasy Asian mafia syndicate kind of story. And it starts off with two warring factions, and they are at peace at the beginning only because they're both being very sneaky with the other side. And the main family that we follow experiences something that throws the culture into a war. And so this whole book is kind of a political back and forth maneuvering kind of thing. And it started off very slowly for me. I wasn't even sure I was really gonna love it at first. But then we kind of, the more that you got into the story, the easier it was to just kind of get caught up in everything that was going on. I enjoyed it. I am looking forward to going on in the rest of the series and hoping that I like them just as much as I enjoyed this one. So this one got an A- from me, and that is a 93%. And again, that is Jade City by Fonda. Okay, and then the next one that I read was for my summer book bingo for my kid pick, and this was Pippi Longstocking, and it's a reread for me. This is not a book that I would hand to my children. I think as an adult, I can appreciate Pippi's antics and all of her kind of snide humor, but if my child was to talk to me or act the way that Pippi Longstocking does, I would have a serious problem. So I heard Shelley Swearingen recently. She reviewed Girl Who with the Dragon Tattoo and that series by Stieg Larsson. And the main character, or one of the main characters in that book, is Lisbeth Salander. I think that's right. And they said that Lisbeth was based off of who Pippi Longstocking would be if she was an adult. And I can totally see that. So Pippi Longstocking is what we think is an orphan because there aren't any parents in the picture. She talks about her father being this great king of this island off somewhere, but she lives in a shack down by the water's edge, and she wields guns and swords and knives and enjoys blowing things up. And so yeah, it was a fun little romp, but it's not something that I would hand to my children, and it's definitely not something that I will read again if given the opportunity. Like I said, kid pick for me for my bingo board. Otherwise I probably wouldn't have read it this time either. But anyway, it was a C for me, so just 75%. Did I say it was by Astrid Lindgren? I don't know if I did or not. Astrid Lindgren, translated from the Swedish for, I also counted for Women in Translation Month, and the translator was not listed in my book, so I am not sure who translated my version. And then the next one that I read was 100 Shadows, and this is by Jungeun Hwang, and is translated by Yiwan Chung. Yeah, not sure about that. Anyway, this was supposed to be kind of a story about Seoul's district that was slated for demolition, where like the old electronics and things, so old televisions, radios, all that kind of thing, are kind of taken care of. And so it's kind of the down and out section of Seoul. I am not sure why it had to be based around that premise, because we really don't hear too much about it other than our main characters are looking to relocate but still be able to get to work and still be able to afford where they're living. Otherwise, it's a story about the two of them and these shadows that rise up when things get difficult. So let me read you a quote from the book that kind of will give you an idea of how kind of convoluted this story was. It reads very, very simplistically. It's as if the translator is not a native English speaker, and there was a lot of repetition, especially in conversation, and it felt very elementary in its writing. So it wasn't as enjoyable for me as what I was hoping it was going to be, because it sounded like there was going to be a little like magical realism, and there was, but I didn't get the point of any of it because of the fact that it didn't feel fully translated. I mean, there wasn't anything horrible about the book other than the writing itself. So just a second, I'm going to read you a quote. Okay, so here is the part that I wanted to read you guys. This is a world in which those living on the edges of society, at the very bottom of the social scale, are being brought to the limits of what they can endure. When they reach this point, their shadows rise up, startling, sudden, and start calling them away from their lives. It is a world in which, however, they choose to deal with these shadows, which seem to offer death an invitation. They find themselves only just barely able to go on with the business of living. Does that make any sense? That is very typical of the way this book is written. And it's just not easy to understand. It's not easy to quite figure out the good, the bad, tensions, what's important, what isn't. It was just difficult. It was a difficult read for me. So it got a C, also a little lower C than the other one. So this was a 74% for me. I just didn't enjoy it. The things that I liked about it were how, after being in Korea for a couple of summers, I enjoyed the feeling of having a Korean person talking with me. And I enjoyed seeing little bits of Seoul throughout the story. Okay. Then the next book that I read at the end of the month was The Dragonbone Chair, and this is by Tad Williams. And I really enjoyed this book. It's been on my TBR for quite a while, a couple of years at least. And I've been hearing really good things about it, but for some reason I just wasn't picking it up. And it came in at the library. It wasn't even on my plan to be reading this month, but it came in at the library. So of course I had to go pick it up and start reading it. I'm so glad I did. It was so good. It's a very, I would say that it feels a little bit like a bridge between what we see as old classic style fantasy and this kind of more modern style fantasy. And so it has some of the really familiar, really comfortable tropes of the old style fantasy with more of a modern style of writing. It's got a quest, it has an unsung hero, it has, you know, the typical things that you look for in fantasy as far as a world that is created by the author for these characters to live in that's slightly different, slightly unique from other fantasy worlds. And it has good versus evil, and it has the, you know, the angels and elves and trolls and all that kind of thing in it. And yet the storyline feels very much like somebody of today is writing it. So it was just really good. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to going on in, what is it? Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is the name of the trilogy. And I can't wait. I loved his writing. I really enjoyed this story. So this one for me got a solid A. It was a 95%. And like I said, can't wait to go on. Okay. And then the next one is a book called Wolf by Wolf, and this is by Eric Gaudin, and it is a alternate history of if Japan and Germany as Axis powers would have won the war, and it's still taking place only over in Europe though. So we don't see any of the United States becoming involved in this story at all. And it's about a race that Hitler and Hirohito devise to celebrate their victory. And it's not the first year that it's been held, but this particular year is unique because there is a woman who is going to be racing. Unbeknownst to Hirohito or to Hitler, the girl who is going to be racing is Jewish. And the reason they do not know this is because when she was little, she was put in a concentration camp along with her mother. And there was a doctor at the concentration camp who ran trials on children in particular in order to change the color of their eyes, change the color of their skin, change the color of their hair from being very foreign looking. So darker skin turned lighter, dark hair turned lighter, dark eyes turned lighter. And unbeknownst to the doctor, this young girl also becomes able to kind of shift and become a look-alike and sound alike of someone else. And so she becomes a tool in the resistance, and the story basically unfolds from there. So she gets to be in this race. She's not who she appears to be, and she is a tool of the resistance. I enjoyed that little bit of almost magical realism in the story, and the characters are really well written and fast paced. It moves along at a little clip. It was very good. I really enjoyed it. So Wolf by Wolf got a strong A as well. This was a 96%. and I'm looking forward to, oh, I'm sorry, nope, it was a 94%. And I'm really looking forward to going on to the next book. All right, and then the next one that I read, the next one that I read is Literary Places. And I showed you guys this when I hauled it, but I actually got to read it this month, and it's so beautifully done. It's just full of page after page of artwork, and they make the places look amazing. And then Sarah's writing. It's Amy Grimes is the illustrator, and Sarah Baxter is the author. And it's just beautiful. So Literary Places, it's actual places in literature, and then Sarah has taken those and told you significant things about them, walked you through the streets, and allowed you to just kind of feel like you are present in those places at the time in literature that it was written about. And so I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is nonfiction, so I'm not going to give it a grade, but I will say that there was absolutely no complaints about this book at all. It was great. Last one that was The Bitter Twins, and it is by Jen Williams. It's the second book in the Winnowing Flame trilogy, so I can't really say too much about it because I don't want to spoil anything, but I loved being back in this world, and I love being with these characters, and they are growing on me more and more, just like they're growing on each other in the story. And it's just fun. It's a mashup kind of story of a little sci-fi and a little bit of fantasy and a little bit of dystopian almost. There are magical beasts. There are vampiric kind of characters. There are witch kind of characters. There are elders who have made mistakes, and mythical places that even the characters are not quite sure if they exist, and just all those kinds of things. I'm so looking forward to going on to the third and final book. It's hard for me to finish series that I really, really love, and this will be the end of this series, but I feel almost like I'm gonna have to go back and reread it because it has just been so much fun. So this one I didn't love quite as much as I loved the first one, which is not the Ninth Reign. Ninth Reign. And my one complaint about this book was that, you know, when we have fantasy and we have sci-fi and all of these things that are set in other worlds and other times, I would love it if authors would just come up with their own unique words for cussing. I don't enjoy having to listen to or read the F word and other things when characters are expressing themselves. To me, it would just be much more even realistic if we were moving away from the here and now and what we would consider a swear word, and that they would give them their own swear language. I would just really appreciate that. But nonetheless, that's the only complaint that I have about this book, is that there was a lot of use of swear words. Did I give you the grade for this? This was another A for me. I had some pretty strong A's this month, and again, it was a 94%. So I am looking forward. I think the third book is called The Poison Song, and so I will be reading that hopefully this next month if it comes in at the library. Okay, so next up is Children of Time. I will be reading Children of Time with Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot, and we plan on having it read in a very short period. So I think we are planning to like start the 1st and be done by the 4th. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's my first read along with Sandy, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. This will be my 4th Adrian Tchaikovsky book. I'm hoping that science fiction is more his bag. It's more his bag. I also have Daughter of the Moon Goddess, and this is by Su Lin Tan, and it's been going around BookTube like crazy, I know, but it's the first time that I have had a hold of it to read, and so I am going to be reading that as well. Oh, I didn't tell you. So we've been away, like I said, and when we got home, we found out that my husband has COVID. So it'll be a little bit before we can record that video for you guys, for the subscribers, and answer all those questions. But we're looking forward to it, and we will be doing it just as soon as he feels better. So yeah. That's everything for me. I hope that you had a wonderful reading month in August. I hope that that continues right on into September. I'm so excited about September and all of the books that I have planned, and I hope that you are too. Please tell me down below what your favorite was in August, and I will see you in the next video. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to. Bye everybody.